Hello and welcome to the Untitled Car Show. I am your host, Ike. Sorry about the delay. I know we said we were going to do 3 episodes last week. Shit happened. I apologize for that. We're going to try for 3 this week. We'll see how it works out. Yeah, it's one of those things. Life's gotten in the way. We're not going to sit and dwell on it. Yeah. For those of you, quick random aside here. So for those of you who maybe need a little inspiration, get stuff done in your own life, I do recommend there's a great YouTube video. I don't know why I find it so inspirational, but it's an invocation for beginnings by Z Frank, who is a old school YouTuber from years ago. The video is from years ago now too. It's from 2012, which is ancient as far as YouTube is concerned, especially the internet is concerned. If you've ever seen like the true facts about marsupials, he's moved on to like mainstream media now as like a writer for some stuff like commercials and stuff, I think. Anyway, good video if you ever needed to get off your ass and just kind of get to doing stuff. It's a good one for it. So let's start then with a bit of news personal-wise. So, look at helicopter. First things first, we got the motor in. It runs. It is fantastic that it runs. We got the coolant hose hooked up. Everything is working the way it's supposed to, in theory. It still stutters a little bit starting up. It needs a little bit more load on the motor because it wants to rev fairly high, or the choke wants to kill it off. So that's just a matter of getting it tuned properly. Probably spray some carb cleaner into that. I got a clutch, flywheel, clutch disc, and a pressure plate all ready to go. I'm going to go look at getting a actual transmission because the one I got is a heavy duty truck transmission, and first and second gear are a little stuck on it. It's more like if you're doing a 4-wheel or something like that, it'd be a great vehicle for that, but not so much for what I need it for. So there's a monthly 3-speed on my way home from here, and I think I'm going to go pick up one of those. So that's a 3-speed manual transmission, which seems a little backwards, I get, but the idea being you got the final drive ratio of 1-to-1, so you got easy enough to use on the highway. I would like a little bit more of an overdrive to it, but there's overdrive housings and stuff you can get put on the back of them. But it'll be fairly good for what I need it to do. It'll be a little gas heavy on the highway, but it'll make a nice noise. It'll probably drone like hell. Flip side of that, so I'm excited about that. I'm hoping to have the car on its 4 feet end of the month. I know I've said that before. Oh, life, man, gets in the way. So it is right now November 20th, so that gives me 2 weekends, I think, to really get through that. So let's see, today's a Monday. Yeah, so probably, hopefully, I guess by the 3rd of December, get it down and get it running. Because now it's just a matter of kind of putting everything back, getting drive shafts working, getting the transmission in, making sure that works, get the clutch wired up. Going to be looking for a hydraulic throw-out bearing, which shouldn't be that hard to find. It's just a matter of, getting this stuff to work and do what it's supposed to do. So I'm excited about all that. I do need to get a fork for that transmission. Anyway, but it's very exciting to have all that stuff and getting ready for it to go onto the vehicle. I'm looking, like I said, I'm hoping to get that down and running. Probably not going to make the 24 Hours of Lemons Road Rally based on all that, but we'll see. We're still going to try. Also depends on money, time, wife's schedule, my schedule, all that sort of fun stuff. So we'll see. Yeah. It's one of those things where we want to do it, but we'll see how that works out. I was thinking about so the Tesla had their big announcement the other day. Oh, Tesla, we're going to bring on a semi, and it's going to be cool, and it's going to be self-driving. It's going to have a 600-mile range, and just going through the Cliff Notes version of it, because really, when they do these stupid conferences and they say, oh, we're going to be doing, a version of this that gets, 600 miles of range and blah, blah, blah. I mean, those things you can fake, you can, basically lie and just say, oh, well, we didn't meet our objective with it, or the batteries don't work, or whatever. And the Roadster, the same thing. They come out, Roadster, saying, hey, this will be like the fastest production car ever, 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds, which would be fantastic. And I would really like for these things to work and run and drive and all that. The issue I have is I like Elon Musk. I really want Elon Musk to succeed. I think he's a very smart individual. He's kind of like, if you want to really, everything that's right with this country is kind of exemplified in that man in my mind, where you can start with nothing, make money, then get into passion projects, and you can basically end up doing most of what you want in this country. And he's kind of like a perfect example of that. And yeah, there's disenfranchisement and there's other obstacles and stuff, but real talk. So, like, I'm a son of a person from the boat from Italy. So, there's what do we call it? I'm trying to think. There's a phrase, and it's escaping me right now. The converts are the most jealous, something like that. Anyway, so I really want him to succeed. I'd really like a lot of his ideas. I'd like, let's go to Mars, let's colonize Mars. We don't want to be a 0-point failure system, or one single point failure system is what I'm telling you. So worst case scenario, something super volcano goes off, Earth inhabitable for 50 years. Just nothing, human life can't sustain itself for 50 years. That knocks out human life. Whereas if we're on Mars, we're on Earth, we're on the moon, something happens in one space, you still have backups. This is an idea I don't see why more people aren't pushing for it now. I get that it's a lot of money, it's a lot of time, it's a lot of investment, but at the end of the day, one thing goes terribly wrong here and it's all over, as opposed to, well, we got a backup somewhere. And if you've ever had a computer where you save all your information to it and it just hits the can, just goes down the crapper, you're fucked. And that sucks. So, we all kind of have experienced single point failure systems in our lives now. I would think most people listening to this. So why not push for backup system after backup system after backup system? And that's kind of where I'm at with it. So it was kind of the nihilist viewpoint for space exploration, not so much that we need to get out and experience the universe and the wonders and blah, 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 but more of like, sooner or later we're going to screw something up, and when we do screw something up, let's have a backup somewhere. Plus, it would be kind of cool to do, uh, you know, road racing on Mars, road racing on the moon. Um, and I would like to do some, like my childhood dream. Um, man, super nerd time. So my childhood dream is I actually wanted to be a aerospace engineer, and I wanted to start a space station because I figured that would be the easiest way to uh, set up a colony, like outside of the 0 point failure system. So, like I had, what we call shuttle designs and whatnot, and it's fascinating because as I've gotten older, I've realized my level of expertise is not quite there. So, um, and I do see a lot of, lessons learned as a kid. And if you were into space exploration at all as a kid, these are kind of things that are known to you, like, you know, the highest cost of getting into space is the fact that a lot of it is single-use stuff that has to meet certain criteria. So you're spending, you build a car, if every time you drove your car to work, you had to get new tires and all new fuel, and you had to get, you know, new brakes every single time. Yeah, that's a huge expense, and it would not be worth it for you to go to work. It would be cheaper for you to stay at home. Um, but if you could cut down the cost of that just by, well, we might have to get rid of, we might use a full tank of gas each time, but we can keep the brakes and we can use the tires one more time, but we can use the brakes 5 times or something like that. The more reusable parts you get, the more it's cost effective, and that's kind of the Falcon 9 setup where you can reuse booster rockets to get up into space. It works a lot better doing that. And I feel like I've kind of gone off my point. Anyway, so, I love, basically I love Elon Musk. I love what he's doing. I like a lot of what he's got planned, blah, blah, blah. However, I don't know what, so we got, we're going to be building power plants in Puerto Rico, or he's going to be building power plants in Puerto Rico, but he also wants to power this thing in Australia. And I told him he'd do it in a certain time frame, otherwise it'd be free. And he wants to get the Model 3 out there and available to all these people. And it just doesn't work if you have too many projects at one time. You have to concentrate. And like right now, like the press conference, there was a great GIF online. It was, if you're familiar with the Family Guy bit where Lois basically just says 9/11 to distract everyone from, her shortcomings as a mayor or her lack of plan or whatever. That's kind of what it felt like, because it was like, what about Model 3 production delays? Semi truck. Oh, okay. But, I mean, seriously, what about the Model 3 delays? Look, a new Roadster. Like, all right, it's going to be super fast. Like, ooh, it's the fanboying around him. I get it. He's a very impressive individual. He's got great ideas. The company is doing great things. It's doing, it's challenging an industry. It's doing a much better job than Preston Tucker did. It's doing, basically what would be impossible 20 years ago. He's doing a great job of forcing issues, forcing cars to think about becoming electric, forcing manufacturers to think about self-driving vehicles, forcing, the issues. This is stuff where legacy automakers did not want to go down these pathways. I mean, look at it now. Like, we're at this threshold where we know gas is going to get expensive. It's starting to creep back up that way. And we're still buying SUVs because that's what they're giving us. And part of that's market force. Well, gas is still under $3 or $2.50. So why not get it? Unless you're like me and you buy premium, and then it's fucking $3. But it's one of these things where, excuse me, by the way, when that shoe drops, when there's another oil embargo, when there's another issue with a refinery, when gas starts jumping back up towards that $3, $4 a gallon, because it's getting there, and I don't want it to. Believe me, I hope I'm wrong on this. but gas is going to go back up. I mean, there's only a limited amount of it on this planet. It's going to go back up. It's going to get expensive. And, enthusiasts, you, me, most of the people listening to this, they're going to want to still have an internal combustion car just to have an internal combustion car probably. But the vast majority of at least American consumers are going to be going like, well, I need a cheaper form of transportation. I need to be able to get to and from my job without having to worry about, spending $4 a day, $5 a day, $8 a day, $20 a day on my fuel costs. I mean, I know a lot of people who work in the DC, like downtown area, and they're driving from York, Pennsylvania. They're driving from the eastern shore of Maryland. You're driving from basically southern Maryland, Richmond. People driving these super commuters are fairly common in the United States. I think more common here than anywhere else in the world, I would venture a guess. And you have people who would be spent who's driving 80 miles, 100 miles one way. For 200 miles, you get a car that gets 20 miles to a gallon. That's five five 5 gallons of gas here and back. Or it's even if you get 30 miles a gallon, you're still looking at a ton of gas, and you're really raking up the cost. So when they talk about we need, uh, you know, when they say, the semi trucks have 600-mile range, and we got, this Model S and this Model X, that are pushing the boundaries of electric technology and all that stuff. That's great, but Elon, you got to fix the Model 3 because that's going to be what needs to work. And I am curious too, once that becomes a nameplate you see all over the place, does it take away the mystique? It does, I have like right now, if you have a Model 3, you're a badass. But flip side of that, 5 years from now, you have a Model 3, it's outdated technology. It's not really going to be, you got a certified pre-owned Model 3, it's lost a bit of its range, it's not as cool as it once was. Are you really going to, is this really sustainable? And I think the only way it's sustainable is this first generation of cars has to be well built, well executed, well put out there, because your resale value is going to determine a lot of what the standard consumers go out and buy. There's a reason Toyotas, Hondas keep their resale value. It's because they're good, reliable cars. They're well built, they're well put together. And that creates a brand loyalty where people keep these cars 5, 10, 15 years. And when they go out, it's not a question to them what they're going to buy next. It's going to be, well, I'm going to go get the, car brand I own because I know it's good. And sometimes brands can change and ebb and flow. But when you're coming out of the get-go, yeah, the Model S and Model X were mass, quote-unquote, produced cars, but they're not on the used market really yet, and they're not really going to be on the used market for a while. I think you'll see Model 3s showing up a lot quicker to the used market as the mystique around them kind of goes away. I mean, if you're the sort of guy who's going to go plunk down $60,000 on a Model 3, you got it spec'd up exactly how you want it to be. And then the next latest and greatest electric car comes out, probably from Tesla. You're going to dump it because why are you going to keep the economy model when what you're trying to do is you're trying to impress people? So, I don't know. I kind of see it as this needs to work, Elon, and you need to focus on what's happening here as opposed to trying to give us, I mean, the truck makes a ton of sense. Let's be perfectly honest. Let's not diminish that, but you need to focus on the Model 3 right now. And that's just the way it has to be. you can get the truck right. You can sell that to people. I don't know. It's just there's a lot of I want everything he promises us to come to fruition. My problem is there's still a lot of like he's like, oh, all these mega chargers for this truck are going to be solar powered. Okay, cool. You said the same thing about superchargers, but we haven't seen that happen yet. And I get you can make these big promises and you don't quite have to deliver on every single one of them. You have a habit of trying to disrupt the industry and try and force the industry to go the way it needs to go quicker because you have this backing, this, mystique around everything you say, and you're putting out products that people are like, yeah, I want that, and I want that in my vehicle, so I'm going to buy this. You're taking away the expensive, high-end stuff from BMW, Mercedes, even Chevy, Buick, Cadillac. You're taking it away from these manufacturers, and you're doing a good job of disrupting the industry because that's the high profit margin vehicles for these manufacturers. And Tesla, I think they're still deep in the hole. Their plant's not even done technically yet. They're having issues with labor and manpower and all this stuff. But I want it to work, and it needs to work. But I guess we'll see. And I think Elon Musk is a very smart, intelligent man. I just so worried he's putting the cart before the horse, and it's worked a lot. Now, different thinkers give the devil his due on this one. He's managed to have a huge impact on this industry with a minimum amount of vehicles, with a minimum amount of actual sales. And he sticks to what he says he's going to do. Like Falcon doors on Model X, would sliding doors make more sense? Yeah. But it's not as cool, so he didn't do it. And if you're going to make a Halo car, make it an SUV, or in my mind, that thing's a minivan. Disrupt the industry, disrupt. I'm saying do it, but man, I'm just so worried this Model 3 debacle is going to tank that company. And, to that point, there's a reason why it's easy to have a company like Noble that makes a supercar, or a company like, Lamborghini, Ferrari. They make cars, they make super expensive, super high-end cars, trying to break, the speed of sound basically while driving. They're trying to do all this stuff. And companies like Elo and, Archimoto, it takes them years and decades sometimes to ramp up and start putting out product if they ever get out of product. And if you've ever seen Jason Torchinsky's, series on goofy cars, a lot of these cars trying to be the next people carrier, they end up being a vehicle that, dies off. Oh, but yeah, all that being said, have a good night. Have a good evening, wherever you are, whatever time it is there. Thanks so much for listening. I'm sorry, I got to run off. New episode probably Wednesday. We'll see.